Today, I want to discuss with you a new epistemology. Why do I want to dwell on this subject? Because something very important in philosophy and in theology has taken place recently. When I say recently, I mean in the last 50 years. Some of these ideas, actually most of these ideas, come from my teachers in philosophy, in theology, in sociology, and some in politics. And so I'm not inventing something new. I'm not saying something that I have discovered, but rather I'm giving you a synthesis of what I have learned during my 50 years of learning to be a Christian, learning to be a Christian thinker, learning to be a philosopher, learning to be a political scientist, learning to be someone who understands our society. So to begin with, historically speaking, in the last 500 years, there has been a great assault or attack on Thomism in the Catholic Church and also on the Bible. So the problem is, for the last 500 years, people are finding faults or academic problems with the study of Thomism or scholasticism in the Catholic Church. People also discover inconsistencies in the Bible when they study the Bible historical source and its linguistic sources. And with all these problems and all these problems raised, there seems to be a problem for modern people when they want to study theology, philosophy, and the Bible. I remember some time ago, I spent a lot of time studying a history of philosophy on the internet. And in the last lesson or the last lecture, the philosopher or the teacher answered a very pertaining question raised by the students. They asked, is there a future for philosophy? I asked the same question too. Is there a future of philosophy? And so my teachers recently gave me an answer. One of the answers is, there is a future, but the future will begin with the study of the philosophy of the mind. Secondly, what about Thomism? Another teacher of mine who was a pupil of Wittgenstein wrote that we should have a historical sympathy for things of the past, because even great people, great philosophers such as Thomas Aquinas or Augustine, they believe or they belong to a very different time. And since their time is different from us, their concerns, although very sincere and very true, were very pertinent and true in their times. But what about their relevance in the modern world? This is why my tutors advised me that we should take a historical sympathy. And finally, some of my teachers told me that we have a crisis of thinking because in the last 500 years, there have not been a single great philosopher or theologian coming from the clerical sources.